If you've ever worked with data, you know the drill, right? It's scattered everywhere, it's locked up in different systems, and sometimes just finding the right file feels like a full-on treasure hunt. Well, what if there was a single, unified home for all of it? Today, we're going to dive deep into Microsoft Fabric's OneLake, a concept designed to do just that. Let's get into how it all works. All right, so here's what's on deck for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with the core idea behind OneLake, that OneDrive for data analogy. Then we'll unpack what a single, unified lake really means for a whole organization. After that, we'll get into the really cool part, connecting to data without copying it. Then we'll explore how all these different tools can work on the exact same dataset. And finally, we'll tie it all together and see why this is such a game changer.
So let's jump right in with the central concept. Microsoft has given us this really simple but incredibly powerful way to think about OneLake. And honestly, it just clicks almost immediately.
Now, this is so much more than just a catchy marketing slogan. It's the entire philosophy. I mean, think about how OneDrive works for your files. You don't have to set it up, you don't manage any infrastructure, or decide where to provision it. It's just there. It's ready to go when you are. And that is exactly the goal for OneLake, to be that single, automatic, no-fuss place for every bit of your analytics data.
Okay, so here's the more formal definition. OneLake is a single, unified, logical data lake for your entire organization. And here's the key. It's not something you have to go out and buy or install. It comes automatically with every single Microsoft Fabric tenant. It's software as a service, or SaaS, which is just a fancy way of saying Microsoft handles all the complicated backend stuff. No provisioning servers, no managing storage accounts. It's just ready to go, right out of the box.
All right, let's dig into how this creates a completely different way of thinking about data architecture. We're talking about a major shift, moving away from a world of data chaos and silos to one where everything just works together. From silos to synergy.
This slide just perfectly captures the problem OneLake is built to solve. On one side, you've got the old way, which is probably painfully familiar. Marketing has its own data lake, sales has theirs, finance has another one. This just leads to a mess. Data is duplicated all over the place, it's a huge headache to manage, and it builds these massive walls between teams. The OneLake way completely flips this on its head. You get one data lake for the whole company. That creates a single source of truth. And the result? No extra resources to manage and a massive boost to collaboration, because everybody is finally working from the same playbook.
So you might be thinking, if it's one big lake for everyone, doesn't that just create chaos? And that's a fair question. But the governance model is actually super simple and effective. The best way to think about it is like a big office building. The tenant is the entire building, with top-level security at the front door. Then you have workspaces, which are like the different floors for each department. Marketing's on one, sales is on another, and they get to set their own rules for who can come and go. And inside those workspaces are the data items. Your lakehouses and warehouses, those are like the individual locked filing cabinets. So it's governed by default, but it lets each team own their own stuff.
Now we get to one of the most powerful features in OneLake, and I gotta say, it feels a little bit like magic. This is all about the ability to access and analyze data without ever having to move or duplicate it.
And the key to all this magic is something called a shortcut. The easiest way to think about this is like a shortcut to an app on your computer's desktop. The icon is sitting right there on your desktop, but the actual program lives somewhere else on your hard drive, right? Well, shortcuts in OneLake do the exact same thing for data. They create a reference, a symbolic link to data that might be living in a totally different location. The data appears right there in your workspace, but physically, it has not moved an inch.
And here's how you actually put it into practice. Let's imagine your sales data is in one workspace and your marketing data is in a completely different cloud, say Amazon S3. No problem. You just point to those sources, create a shortcut for each, and bam, that external data instantly appears in your project, right alongside your other data. You can then combine them to create a virtual data product for analysis, all without building out complex data pipelines or duplicating massive data sets. I mean, the agility this gives you is just huge.
Okay, so we've established there's OneLake, and we can connect to all our data without copying it. The next big question is, can my favorite tools actually use this data? And the answer is a huge resounding yes.
The secret sauce that makes all this possible is that OneLake stores its tabular data in an open-source format called Delta Parquet. This is really important. It's not some proprietary lockdown format. It's an industry standard that brings incredible benefits, like reliability through something called ACID transactions, which basically just ensures your data operations either complete fully or not at all, preventing corruption. It's also super high performance for analytics, and because it's open, a whole universe of different tools and engines can read and write to it directly.
This table really brings the power of this to life. Just imagine this scenario. You've got a SQL developer, and they're happily using T-SQL to build out a really robust transactional data warehouse. That data is sitting there in OneLake. At the exact same time, a data scientist can use Apache Spark and their favorite Python libraries to run machine learning models on that exact same data. And meanwhile, a BI analyst can connect directly with Power BI to build reports. It's one copy of the data serving 3 completely different people with their own preferred tools. There's no friction and zero data movement. It's fantastic.
And for anyone who uses Power BI, this is an absolute game changer. It's called Direct Lake Mode. See, traditionally, you had to make a trade-off. You could use import mode, which is super fast, but it means your data is a copy, and it can get stale pretty quickly. Or you could use Direct Query, which is always live, but can be slower. Well, Direct Lake Mode is the best of both worlds. It reads data directly from OneLake, so it's always up to date, but it delivers the blazing fast performance of import mode. You just don't have to make that trade-off anymore.
So let's pull all of these pieces together now and really look at the big picture. Why does OneLake represent such a fundamental shift in how we all handle our data?
When you put it all together, the value is just crystal clear. First, you eliminate that constant, expensive, and time-consuming need to move and duplicate data. Second, you just naturally break down the silos between different business units. Third, you dramatically reduce complexity and overhead. You get one managed service instead of trying to juggle a bunch of different infrastructure projects. Fourth, you're building a perfect, governed foundation for AI tools like Copilot. And finally, you achieve that holy grail of data management, a true single source of truth, which lets you squeeze every last drop of value out of a single copy of your data.
Now, a common question that comes up is whether OneLake replaces existing technologies like Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, and the answer is no, it actually builds on top of it. OneLake is using ADLS Gen 2 under the hood, so it's totally compatible with existing tools, but it adds this critical layer of SaaS simplicity, automatic setup, and built-in governance that makes it accessible to everyone, not just the hardcore data engineers.
And that brings us to our final thought. I really want to leave you with this question to think about. Imagine all the time, all the resources, and all the complexity you could just eliminate. Imagine how fast you could deliver insights to your business. What new possibilities could you unlock for your organization if you never had